Papa Lacry, what is going on, snipers? Naeem Al-Abaidi here. I hope all of y'all are enjoying your day today. Let's talk about the news that matters to me the most today. Number one, we'll briefly touch on Litepay denouncing their creation, literally, which is affecting Litecoin's price minutely, but I'm going to talk about why I think Litecoin may see some further upside, as well as Verge announcing a potential partnership on April 16th. However, they had to raise 75 million Verge tokens to do this. Why, right? We're going to be diving right into that. Let's look at the technical side of things first. Looking at Verge's technical analysis here, we're going to be taking a look at these known support levels here, currently forming right around 326 Satoshis. And it's looking like we're seeing some strong resistance right around 615 Satoshis with a bullish wick on top of that candle, which is interesting because that could potentially determine that we're going to see further upside here when more sellers come into this market, being the fact that the overall market is red right now. But looking at this cup that's forming, you can actually look at this in two different ways. One way would be a cup and handle, where you've got this breakout here and the cup forming alongside of that handle forming now, or a rounding bottom where you can look at the actual cup base as this area right here coming from a descending trend, forming a rounding bottom, now forming its handle to eventually break out. Both of those are breakout patterns. So in a technical sense, it is forming a breakout pattern as we speak. However, is this partnership really going to change things for Verge? Let's take a look at the coin market cap first and foremost here. You can see we're at 4 cents right now, 6% gain over the past 24 hours. Doesn't really matter much. What I really want to pay attention to is the market cap being under 1 billion right now at $607 million. It kind of asks you a question: why did they need to raise more tokens to announce this potential partnership, right? And in my opinion, there are several reasons why that would be the case. However, I'm not going to spread any negative FUD yet, because I think we need to give Verge a chance to prove themselves on what they're actually trying to accomplish over the next coming weeks. And most importantly, knowing the potential of Verge's price. It had a huge pump here in December, but in all reality, it's formed a couple different cups on the way down, but seeing further downside each time it's done that. I think the only difference here is that it's seeing some sort of upside, being the fact that there's this potential partnership. And I think they need to be careful by what they promise their users, because if you're promising that you're going to have this amazing partnership and the partnership doesn't end up being amazing, that could really lead to a lot of liabilities in the future. And it could also lead to a dump in their coin if people are not as satisfied with the partnership that they are creating so much anticipation for. As a matter of fact, you can see on their actual website where they talk about their partnership, there's two actual practical things that I see here that are actual reasons to raise more funds. Number one, Ledger Nano hardware wallet integration and support, which in my opinion would be more of a partnership with Ledger. And then the Wraith Protocol iOS enabled wallet application is also something that would definitely take some funds. But then these three kind of seem a little bit more mediocre, right? It's just a general term: advanced marketing tactics, partnerships with large companies, real world adoption, nothing really tangible behind it or practical. So why do they really need to collect funds, right? They actually tout this as the new crowdfunding initiative that they're holding. And at one point in the article, they actually mentioned, "We are thrilled to announce efforts to establish the largest cryptocurrency collaboration in the market." So the claims are big, but is the delivery going to be just as big? And I think that's the biggest question for Verge. If you are going to be holding it during this hype, there's a saying in the market, right? Buy the hype, sell the news. I would say that it's fair to go ahead and place a position, a minute position, just in case it does see some sort of significant pump. But to put a large portion of your allocations and your assets and capital into Verge right now, I think that would be a little bit more on the risky side, being that we know that the market right now is in a very bearish state, and we are taking advantage more so of these quick swings, not necessarily these upcoming swings that happen 2-3 weeks ahead of time. Whereas we're taking advantage of these shorter term swings that happen within a couple days or within a couple hours. Especially in a bear trend, you don't want to have all of your assets tied up, because you just don't have the chance to act fast enough, and that reaction time can be critical when we see any sort of market sell-off. And what's also interesting is the fact that they actually tweeted this photo here in partnership with TokenPay, talking about how TokenPay is going to match every single Verge token that's contributed up to 50,000. And I think that's kind of a weird thing that's going on right now between TokenPay and Verge, but I also think it's optimistic to a certain degree, being the fact that at least they are in partnership with somebody trying to accomplish something. So if they're going to make bold claims like that, hopefully TokenPay knows what those claims are, so that if they are partnering with Verge, that they can go ahead and also understand the backing behind those large claims being made by Verge. So in my opinion, it's never good to make those type of large claims without necessarily backing it up right away. However, we'll see what happens. Hopefully this is a partnership that will take Verge to the next level. I like Verge as a token. You know, the Wraith protocol enabling I2P protection alongside with blocking the ledger from being shown like Monero. I think it's an awesome coin that has a lot of potential as long as it's used properly. And the private coin sector in general in this market is a very big market. And I think that there's going to be a lot of potential for more of those coins like Zcash, Monero, PivX, Verge, and other of those type of currencies. Now let's move on to Litecoin and take a look at what's happening here with Litecoin. They announced Litepay around February 18th, where we saw about a 30% pump in Litecoin's price. However, now they've denounced Litepay as a whole project in general because of lack of due diligence. If you look at this article that was actually posted as an announcement on the Litecoin Foundation's page, you can see they talk about ceasing all operations for not doing enough due diligence. And I've talked about this before. Understand that for the cryptocurrency market to see true mass adoption, we're going to have to see other companies take advantage of this technology. So Litepay was one step towards that. It was similar to BitPay, where it allows businesses to accept Litecoin, and it makes it extremely easy to use Litecoin with that card and things of that nature. However, now that that project has been denounced, it kind of puts Litecoin in this position of whether or not this is going to be something that's tangibly worth anything in the future. And in my opinion, it is, because remember what we talked about with the SEC now announcing that all exchanges have to delist any coins considered securities if it's not registered with the SEC, or they can't do business with the United States. Litecoin and Bitcoin are the two coins that weren't really created as securities. These coins were created more so as a peer-to-peer exchange, and it doesn't necessarily pass the Howey test, which is what the SEC needs to approve in order to determine an asset as a security. So it still has that intrinsic value of not being deemed a security, being like Bitcoin and almost like the silver to Bitcoin. And for me, being in the market for the time that I've been in it, it's always been like Bitcoin's little brother, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. So let's look at the technical analysis. We're going to add several different indicators here. If you right-click your Trading View Chart Insert Indicator, we're going to be using the 3 moving averages. We're going to look at the RSI as well as the Bollinger Bands and the volume. These are very important indicators, and I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use this. The RSI is actually right here. This is the Relative Strength Index. You've got the candlesticks. The Bollinger Bands are these clouds in the back. It's kind of in that teal color. And then the 3 moving averages are these 3 lines in the back here. They determine the 50-day, the 100-day, and the 200-day moving average as long as you're on a 1-day chart. And the volume is actually depicted here in these volume candles or volume bars. And looking at this price, you can see how we're seeing this consolidation back to these previous lows on these known support levels. So we have one support level here right around 109 US dollars. We've got a support level forming right now, which seems to be right around 139 US dollars. I'm not going to draw that out because there's no true support just yet. And if we draw out the resistance, it was right around 252 US dollars with the bull wick coming up right there, but then seeing further consolidation. Looking at this price, in my opinion, it's not necessarily going to be the worst move to start dollar cost averaging your way into this market, even for Bitcoin. I've talked about this in the past. You don't want to trade the full allocation of your assets, but if you're looking to get good prices, it's not going to hurt you to make positions based upon knowing the fact that prices are low right now, and there are going to be potential swings along the way. You can see every time that there's consolidations, there's always those swings that come out of that. And you can see right now we're in another point of consolidation. We're going to potentially see a swing, and we're going to use a Fibonacci retracement that actually helps predict support and resistance levels. We're going to have to draw that from the top of the candle wicks to the lowest known level of the graph that you're looking at. That's the best way to get that Fibonacci retracement accurately showing what potential resistance and support levels are going to be shown. And looking at this 4-hour, you can see how we're finding that resistance right along the Fibonacci retracement, but we're starting to head down towards this next level. If I were to put in a buy order or entry point into Litecoin right now, it would be around the $120 price range all the way up until around the $135 price range, being the fact that these are known levels of a bounce. And understand that Litecoin will potentially see a sharp bounce soon where there's that opportunity to make those quick profits. And I also see this bearish market starting to subside over the next couple of months And with that happening, I think getting your positions in these coins that you've always wanted to get a position in is important to do right now. And even with the Litepay denouncement, you can see that it did hurt the price, but also understand that when the Litepay was announced, we only saw about a 30% rise in price, which is a lot, but not necessarily a lot in the crypto world where you see 60, 80, 90% increases in price. So at the end of the day, Litepay never really affected it substantially, and I actually saw an article earlier as well of somebody kind of talking about it as just one fish in the sea that was pulled out, and it's not necessarily a big deal that they've denounced Litepay. And in my opinion, Litecoin fundamentally still has its intrinsic value in the fact that it's not going to be deemed a security. In a technical sense, it's being oversold right now. And then if you look at the RSI as well, know that the RSI, anytime this dips below 30, considers that asset class oversold. And you can see here, we're heading down towards these lower RSI levels. Anytime you see these sharp drips in price or in RSI or in anything, there's always these really sharp upticks as well where you can make those profits. So take advantage of those, and that's what I highly implore all of y'all to do. You can see how we bounced off of the 31.4 RSI here earlier. We never went under 30. So for us to go to 30 would be an obvious move to enter into this position. So overall, I think it is a good time to start dollar cost averaging your position into Litecoin, but at the end of the day, understand that the market is in a very volatile point. You can see, looking at the coin market cap here, we're at a $7.7 billion market cap here for Litecoin, and we're starting to see volume increase. 400 billion currently over the past 24 hours. If you were to compare that volume to most of these other coins with market caps comparable to Litecoin, so for example, you go here and you look at Bitcoin Cash at a $15 billion market cap, it has less volume over the 24 hours than Litecoin, which means less use case, at least in the past 24 hours. So I am still very bullish on Litecoin. I'm holding my Litecoin, and I am not giving financial advice, but I would implore any investor right now to understand that I think Litecoin has a lot of potential, and if you are invested in it, understand that the Litepay wasn't necessarily the biggest deal in the world. It was just a small bump in the road, and at the end of the day, it still has its intrinsic value of its coin. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until our next one, snipers out.